Hello everybody, Darren here, and welcome back to Satisfactory. Now previously, we got set up with all the basics, producing a small quantity of iron rods, plates, screws, concrete, wire, and cable. We also touched on the fundamentals for power, logistics, and a variety of tips and tricks to make building go smoother. The goal today is to do everything necessary to unlock the coal power milestone, so that in the next episode, we can immediately start automating power by building our very first facility, with all the things that we love, like floors, walls, and even doors. But to get there, we're going to have to follow these following steps. Alright, so we're going to be expanding the power capacity by adding more biomass burners, but then improving our fuel efficiency by creating biofuel. We're also then going to look to more complicated machines, the assemblers, by adding a couple of those into the mix, expanding our concrete production, exploring the world, unlocking some stuff in the M.A.M, and then putting our space elevator down and completing phase 1, which will give way to the coal power milestone. So that's the plan for today. In fact, we actually have a relatively simple setup. We only need 1 additional constructor, 3 additional assemblers, 2 additional miners, and 4 additional biomass burners. I'm also continuing right where we left off at the end of the last episode, having seen our pod just return right now from its tier 2 milestone, which we completed at the end of the last episode, so only a couple minutes have passed. In those minutes, I've gone around and collected more leaves. I've also crafted just a few reinforced iron plates to get the ball rolling. So, let's get started. We're going to expand the power network, as it's our first thing on the to-do list, by adding 4 additional biomass burners here. So there's 3 right here. If we hold control and just rotate them around, we can slot them in pretty nicely. And then we can start to hook these up to power. So we'll take out our cable, just connect them along the line like this. And just give each one a lot of flexibility by basically having their own pole each. Alright, so, and then we have to hook it up to the actual network. We'll need this later, so I'm just going to extend the cables out that way. Alright there, so that's 4 additional biomass burners. Of course, they don't have anything in them yet, so what we're going to do is improve our fuel efficiency, because if you remember, when we completed the obstacle clearing milestone, we unlocked solid biofuel, the most energy efficient form of solid biomass. Can be used as fuel for the chainsaw. We don't need the chainsaw right now, but we do want to be making biofuel, so we make our biomass go further. So at the moment, we just have leaves being turned into biomass in an automated fashion. We want to improve that setup. So let's just climb up here to get a bit more of a bird's eye view on the area. We're going to make another constructor. This is the only constructor we'll be making this entire episode, actually. Placing it facing towards me, we're going to add in 2 storage containers. One roughly located, somewhere here, and another one tucked in front of the machine there. This storage container is going to be where we deposit all of our leaves. So we'll just open this one up, throw our leaves in there, Control-click puts all of the same type into a container. And it's going quite slowly. This machine needs 120. Now we had just unlocked Logistics Mark II in the last episode, which means now if we take a belt, Mark 1, we press E, we can go straight to belt 2. Now if we've got loads of belts and we hold E, we can actually have a radial wheel of which one we want to select. So we'll select number 2. It's 120 resources per minute. So now we're going to be filling up this machine at a consistent rate, which will give it 100% productivity, which means no fluctuations on our network, which we don't like. Alright, so with that first stage done, we're producing 60 biomass per minute, so a belt of 60 is totally fine for that, into a container, and then we're going to be wrapping it around into another constructor here, and doing the very same thing, which is turning this into a Mark II belt. 120 biomass flowing out and into here, to be created into biofuel. Now we're not making 120 biomass per minute, but every now and then I might be dumping my own biomass in here, so you might as well have the belt be at the capacity that it's able to take in, if that makes sense. Alright, so we're going to bring the conveyor belt into its storage container, and that will be biomass. We're going to give it power, of course, so a little power pole right there. Another little quality of life tip that was added recently, and people pointed out in the comments. If your power poles are full, and you're like, oh man, it's so annoying, I have to delete things, blah blah blah. Instead, what you can do is just look at a cable, click it, and it'll just automatically insert itself in the middle of the connection point, and then we can just connect to there. So just like that. Much more easy. I should have done it in the last episode. I did know about it, but I just forgot to do it. Alright, so our machines are up and running. We're now making solid biofuel, and there it is. Tufts of grass rolled up together, rolling out. Efficient fuel. Love to see it. And we'll go collect that in just a couple of minutes. What we're going to do now is, if you remember, Got another bird's eye view here up our lookout tower. We're going to have a look at the assembler setup. So, this next production chain, well, let me actually talk about it a little bit first. Effectively, what we currently make across the entire world right now is 30 iron rods, 80 iron plates, 120 screws, 20 concrete, 60 wire, and 30 cable, all per minute. And they're all rolling into their various containers. Today, we're going to be changing those amounts slightly. The rod production is going to go down to 18. The plates is going to go down to 50. The screws all the way down to 0. The concrete's going to go up to 50. The copper stuff is not going to change. And we're going to be adding the addition of 5 reinforced iron plates, 2.4 rotors, and 2 smart plating per minute. To do that, we needed a constructor, 3 assemblers, and 2 additional miners, which is what we had planned, and we know the increase to the power network that's going to put on us. So, what that means, and the reason it's affecting things we have already, is because we're going to be adding on to the chains that already exist. So of course, this is our rod production chain, this is one of our iron plate production chains, and this is the same chain duplicated over from a different miner. So for example, 1 miner, 2 smelters, 2 constructors, 40 rods per minute into 1 container, and the same is happening over again, 40 rods, or sorry, did I say rods? 40 plates per minute into that container, and 40 plates into that one. So there we go. So we're going to be adding on to these chains, and you can see the diagrams to help you with that. It looks a little bit more complicated than it really is, because we're just adding on to them, but it meant fusing all the chains into one bigger thing, if that makes sense. So along the bottom, we have the storage containers moving into the assembler. Along the top, we have the storage containers moving into that assembler, and they're kind of sharing resources between them to produce what we need. It's kind of complicated. The diagram's there just so you can see it. It'll be easier probably just to follow it in-game as we're just adding a few machines on. Alright, so let's begin. So, to clean this up at first, this is making 40, 40, and 40. That's 120. Now that we have Mark II belts, we've got 120 capacity. So we can just delete these 2 and get rid of them. Also just going to delete that pole just so I can move it really quickly. Just a bit further out. We'll reconnect it there. Okay, so now we can get 120 flowing into here if we just organize ourselves. So effectively what we'll do is we'll grab a merger, look out here, grab a merger here, holding control allows them to snap into each other relatively effectively, and then bring that into its little buddy. So that's 40 in, 40 in. So what's the problem here? That's your homework question for today. Well, quite simply, the problem is that we've got 80 trying to travel on a belt of 60. It's not going to work. So obviously, at this point, we already need to improve to a Mark II belt, and at this point as well, as that's going to be 120. So that should keep everything free-flowing and moving nice. No problems. It'll just slow down a little bit every now and then because we're overproducing a little bit right now, just because we stopped the machines for a sec. But they'll get flowing just no problem, and it'll all balance out soon enough, with 120 flowing in here nice and evenly. Just going to pop that in there and take this out so we've got an even stack in our repertoire, our inventory. Okay, so that has cleaned up our screw logistics just slightly. And we can see that things will eventually start rolling once we get rid of the backlog that's actually in the machine. So that will happen, trust me. Alright, so assemblers. The first assembler will be put down here by holding control. Ah, my bad. We'll need to make our first set of rotors. So we'll just do that in a craft bench. Scroll down. Rotors is a brand new thing we can make thanks to the milestones we completed at the end of the last episode, as well as modular frames, but we won't need any of those today. We're just going to make 4. I think that's all we need. In fact, actually, we do need 12, so I'll make 6. I'll just stop that now and climb up again, get this production going. Alright, so assembler holding control will snap the right slot into the screw container, basically, aligned with it, and just connect those 2 together. So that's going to be a belt of 60. Even though we've got a belt of 120 traveling in, we're just going to be taking 60 out for now to go into there. The next thing we're going to do is have a look at one of our iron production chains, our iron plate production chains, remove this storage container, remove this belt, and then drag the belt straight over towards where we're going. So we'll just maybe bring it to there and continue it the rest of the way. So remember, that is 40 plates per minute traveling in. Now we actually only need 30. So what we're going to do is grab a splitter somewhere here, go off into this merger, so we're bringing the 2 chains together. So that's now sending 20 over. Not quite what we need. Put another splitter down somewhere here. Put a merger down somewhere here. Connect them, make them best friends. And now we've got 40 traveling into a splitter, so that's 20 and 20. 20 traveling into another splitter, that means it's 10 and 10, because everything's split evenly, because it's just 2 outputs. So 10 is traveling back around, merging back with its 20 buddy to make a belt of 30. So it's just a very easy way of getting 30 on the belt. Does it matter? Do we have to do any of this? Not really, but I think it's a good example in case you're ever wondering how to do these things. Alright, so now we have the even correct amount going in there, 30 per minute. Of course, the machine's not powered yet, because even though we've added more burners, we haven't fueled them. And that's because we're waiting for our fuel to be made. But in the time it's taken now, we should have a good amount of fuel here. Yeah, we've got 350. Not bad. Let's get to there. Alright, so 360 biomass. Now, we've added 4 additional machines. So, what's 360 divided by 4? It's 90. How did we do this? We pressed N on the hotkey, and you've got a little calculator here. So, some people don't know this, but basically a slash symbol is a division, and a star symbol is a multiplication. Some people just don't know that, I guess, so just worth mentioning. So 360 divided by 4 is 90. So what we'll do really quickly is open our inventory, select our biofuel, hold right-click, and then press 90. So we can split the stack, so there's 90 there. I'm just going to merge these two together, split this again, so that's 90. Merge these two, and then split this again, so it's 90 and 90. How good is that? So now, we'll drop 90 in here, 90 in here, so on and so forth into these 4. So now we've got an even depletion rate of each one, because you don't want to put 200 in this one and 10 in this one, because then when this runs out of fuel, your network crashes and then you have to open this up and take some out and move it. Better just to do that all beforehand, eh? So that's what we've done. Now we've added 4 machines in total. It's kind of overkill, and it is on purpose. We'll take the biomass out of here, and delete this one entirely. So we're just cleaning up this area a little bit. This additional biomass we can now throw into here, because it'll get refined into biofuel, which we know is more efficient anyways. And we can now start to maybe power down or remove some of these. We have a big jump in our network still, so we're still good to remove a little bit. Well, really what we should do is have a look and grab the 30, the rest actually of the biofuel out of here, and split it as best we can. Alright, so we've got 109. Now, I'm not going to be able to put what I need into each one of them, so for now we'll just grab the biomass out of this one, and again we'll put, maybe we'll say 85 by now into this one. Alright, so we'll leave those two as biomass just for now rather than biofuel, and we'll just again continue to throw our biomass back into this container so it can get refined into something else. Okay, and just given a little bit of time, when we make more biofuel, then we'll just replace the other two to be entirely biofuel. But now that our power network has increased, we can now actually hook this machine up to power and start building more of them. So we'll just climb up here again to get a nice bird's eye view. Alright, so you can just very simply just start to power that on. And we'll have to tell it what to make in a second. Actually, yeah, I guess we'll have to do that now. Alright, so we wanted to basically make reinforced iron plates. That's going to take 30 plates per minute and 60 screws per minute, which is exactly what we've set up to arrive into here. And then it's going to do its thing and make 5 reinforced iron plates per minute. So I'm just going to break out the craft bench and craft a couple more rotors on my own, just to get us ready for the next assembler. Might as well make the 8 that we require over on the right side. And then we'll need just a little bit more reinforced iron plates. Now we're making that now in the assembler. We're finally starting to automate it, but we can craft these pretty quick alongside it, so might as well just do that. So we've made 8, so we can make our second assembler. Alright, so the second assembler is just going to basically go right next to its buddy. Maybe we'll give it a bit of space because there's a rock in the way there. And what we're going to be making is rotors. So if we have a look on this quick search bar again, instead of typing in a calculation, we can type in a recipe. Typed in rotor, we can click it, and we can actually see what our standard recipe gives us. It's 20 iron rods per minute and 100 screw per minute. And that's going to produce 4 rotors per minute. But what did I say earlier? We're not going to be making the full 4 because we actually don't have the screws right now. Instead, we're going to make 2.4 per minute. So we're going to underclock our machine to make a little less. At the beginning of the game here, I'm trying to get to coal power kind of as efficiently as possible. You can do it with way more machines. But the time it takes to add more machines to everything eats into the time it would just take to produce things at a lower level. It's kind of a hard one to sort of verbalize and explain, but there's a sort of an apex of efficiency and time. Alright, we'll just connect that iron rods in there. So that's iron rods connected, and that's screws connected. We'll just improve this belt now to be Mark II right there. I need some reinforced plates. Good thing we can just get them out of this machine now, huh? Because we're having to improve that. So now 120 are flowing back out, getting split evenly 60 and 60. And what we'll do is go over to this machine, select rotors, and underclock it to 60%. People have also pointed out that if you want, you can change the number down here. I like using the percentages. It's a bit sometimes inefficient to do that, but yeah, I just like using the percentages. In a case like this, it's definitely better to do it this way. But just worth pointing out, people did mention that. Appreciate the feedback, and also just the tips that people are giving each other in the comments of that previous episode. So we'll just power this one on as well. No, that was a mistake. Meant to aim onto this one. Alright, they're both doing their thing. So what we'll do is also just give them a storage container each, so that we can send stuff into a box. They're called containers. I just often call them boxes, even though they're not even... Well, they are kind of boxes. They're rectangle boxes. That was a little off. Just orientate that correctly. I did hold control, but I think it snapped onto something else. There we go. So we can see our reinforced iron plates. Everything in the game has a lovely 3D model. Always like to see it for the first time when we make something. In fact, we could just put these 4 rotors in here just so we can see that that's what they look like. Love it. Alright, give me those 4 back. Now, this is going to be making them every 25 seconds. So pretty long time, you know, 2.4 per minute. But it uses up all our screws evenly and should keep our power network extremely stable, which is what I like to do. But it does mean that we're left with no screws to kind of skim off the top ourselves. This number will just stay totally even now, all things considered. We could always just go into a machine and pull some of the screws out, or underclock one of them further, or just switch one off if we wanted just to save up some screws for whatever reason. But once we get coal power going, we're going to make dedicated factories that will do all of this stuff without us having to run back and forth to biomass burners constantly. Which, speaking of, we'll just do one last time now that we can just power this last bit on. Alright, biofuel again. So how much do we have in here now? 71. So let's just try and give this one 71. Or 70, let's say. And this one's 70. And then next time we need to top them up, we'll go around them hopefully evenly. Alright, and I'll just take that last bit of biomass. I know we're running back and forth a lot. Dump it into this machine, let it get refined again. Alright, now, that's been a long time, but that is basically all of our things set up here at the beginning. That's expanding power, and that's biofuel production. There is still one assembler to be set up before we're going to move on. And remember, any chance you get, collect. Collect everything you can. Alright, so one more assembler to go. So we have 2 boxes right here, and they're both going to be feeding into this assembler. We need just more reinforced plates, which are now automating. I'm just going to get a little bit of height just to see the exact distance here. Maybe somewhere like there is fine. Alright, both of them are going to feed in here, and this is now going to make smart plating. Very smart indeed. 2 reinforced iron plates per minute and 2 rotors per minute. So we obviously make more than that in both categories. Barely more rotors, but we do make 2.4, and we do make 5 reinforced iron plates. So they're just going to get backed up. They'll either fill the inventory of this machine or get backed up into their storage containers, and we'll collect them from there in future. Alright, this will be the last one to power. So that's now operational. I'll just let it store in this machine. We don't need to give it a storage container just yet. And that's smart plating. So that's going to be needed for the space elevator. Alright, so that's our assembler setup completely done. The next thing we want to do is expand our concrete. We're only making 20 per minute, and it could be better. What we're going to need for that, as we've seen, is 2 additional miners, which requires 2 more portable miners. So we'll build a couple of these. We've also unlocked the chainsaw and the object scanner, but we don't want to use any of that just yet. You can if you want. I don't like using the chainsaw too much. It destroys a lot of the vegetation around the area, and trees don't grow back. Trees don't grow back, but leaves do, and wood does on the ground. But I'm Guess I'm an environmentalist. I'm a conservationist. Don't want to destroy trees unless I'm absolutely sure I want to get rid of it permanently. I just feel that way in the game. I don't know why. But if you don't care, and you don't mind operating in a barren landscape, then absolutely break out that chainsaw. You make it in the equipment workshop. You fill it with solid biofuel. And you can just kind of cut down large areas much quicker. Albeit in a way that it won't ever grow back. Alright, so just grabbing all this stuff here, because I know there's a bunch of wood on the ground, some leaves to grab. We'll throw this all into our biofuel refinement area. There's also more wood over here. It's a great area to grab from. And it replenishes pretty quickly. If we look at the in-game clock, I've only been playing for just about 2 hours. And the first 20 minutes of the game was me actually just kind of getting the video ready. So even less than 2 hours is the time that's gone by right now. So in that time, it takes maybe 2 to 3 hours to grow back wood. So that forest will be replenished again soon enough. Alright, so this is the 2 extra limestone deposits I wanted you to get to. So if you just got a little disorientated, there's our area over there. Here's the 2 deposits. We can hold down V, scan for limestone. And if we open up our map, which we also just unlocked at the last episode, we can zoom in and see there's 2 limestone deposits right here, untapped. We can actually even see their purity level, impure and normal. They have different rates depending on their purity, and we can see the one we've tapped over here, which is impure. We've also tapped another one over here, but it must be just outside of our range or something, because it didn't show up. But anyways, let's get cracking on this, quite literally. Now, there's, thankfully, some quartz here. Now, tapping this and grabbing this will also be something we need to keep, so don't delete the raw quartz that we're picking up, okay? Alright, that was quite a stubborn coal deposit. What we're going to do is put down our first miner here and face it roughly out towards that direction. Roughly out towards that kind of sandy plateau. I'll move around to this next one, and this also has some limestone on it. This one's a little tricky though. It can kind of confuse you. So obviously, there's limestone there, and then there's also a hidden sort of deposit right here. So the way I'm looking at the ground here, it says impure in bold orange letters. Here, it says pure, and that's because that is a additional deposit that's placed on top. You have to clear that away first, but it blends into the actual ground really well, so it's a tough one to see. Often people think there's only ever one, and when you get rid of the other one, you look around, you're like, what the hell's after happening, man? I can't put down my miner. Okay, so that one was a little bit stubborn as well. So there we go, we can put the miner down facing roughly out towards me. I'm just going to refill it with the limestone that we got out of it. I actually ran out of space in my inventory there for a second, so I'm just going to pick back up the plates I put on the ground. Alright, so 2 miners, very simple. So we've got a little chain to show you on screen for this one as well. So it's quite a simple setup, but to get things load balanced correctly, there's a little bit of merging and splitting that has to go on. So 2 miners, one's producing 60, one's producing 30. Did I say that we only needed 1 constructor each at the beginning? I think I may have said that. Sorry, we actually do need a further 2 constructors right now, so my bad if I did mention that. I think I did. Must have been a mistake on my part. I forgot to count in the concrete production here. Alright, so I've placed down my 2 miners. I have 2 constructors ready to go, and they're both set to making concrete, which means they both need 45 limestone per minute. Now, I actually ran the machine just for a second because I'd basically done this a different way and decided, no, I've got a simpler way to explain all this. So if we've got 60 in this machine and 30 coming out of this machine, the way I was doing it was basically pulling the 60 towards me, splitting it out 30, splitting out 15, and then merging it all back correctly so that 45 went into both. So that's one way of doing it. But the other way you could just do it is merge both of them together on one single belt and then split that belt evenly between them. And I think that would just be more elegant and probably just make more sense to people. So we'll just put a splitter right here in the middle. And we'll send in a Mark 1 belt into both. And then basically this needs to be a continuous belt over there. And somewhere here we'll just have a merger. So we'll send 60 along here into this one. And then just grab this, turn it into a conveyor Mark 2. So that'll be our batch of 120, right? So it's 60 and 30. So 90 will be traveling along a belt of 120, but it'll be split to 45 and 45 evenly between the two. So much more elegant than what I was doing, which was splitting it many different ways. This actually involves using less splitters and mergers, so hopefully it's all for the better. Alright, so we'll just hook this up to power, connect that back out there, connect that to its buddy. These are all running again. And then we'll just connect this one right here between the two. Didn't work. There we go. and then just give this a storage container. As you can see, I had one planned. Alright, so storage, there we go. So just because of that, I had a little trial and error. A little bit of time has passed because of that, which means some more, you know, maybe add on an additional 5 minutes if you're keeping track for time, because we'll have produced probably a little extra smart plating or something by now, you know? Alright, another merger here. So all we get out is 15 concrete per minute out of each one, so a standard belt of 30 is, 60 is totally fine for the 30 that's coming out now. And that 30 is going to be added to our global network of 20, so we now produce 50 concrete in total. So that is our concrete expansion done. Now, we went around and we picked up some extra wood. I'm actually just going to go into the forest again, pick up some more wood, and just convert it to biomass for our fuel. Just picking this stuff up here. The reason I'm actually going to just keep this on screen for a moment is I want to show you something. Alright, in the forest, we actually have a hostile mob here. If you've chosen to play with hostile mobs on, this guy is a spitter. Why don't you go kill him? It'll take maybe about 5 hits or something, and he'll start running away. So if you just get him right in the butt, that's his weak spot. And you'll get his remains off that. So 2 plasma spitter remains. We'll use that in the future. That's why I wanted to show you that. Also, some of the wood has actually come back in here already, which is nice. Alright, so before we leave the forest, we want to make sure we grab this quartz that's just on the way in. We're going to use this later in the M.A.M for research. And just over in the distance, towards the rock arch, there's actually a Caterium deposit that's very similar. Plus, there's lots of extra wood and stuff on the ground over here. So we'll just head over here, grab this stuff as well, pile up our inventory, and then grab some of that Caterium ore. On the way back to base, there's actually a little bit more Caterium ore just right next to it. Right, so very quickly, now that we're back at base, I'm just going to dump some of this extra material in my personal storage box, because we won't need it right now. So some of the animal remains, flowers, things like that. Bits of ore that you're just not going to need, motors, that can all go. What we're going to do now is, because we're a bit short on time for power, is refill this with leaves, and then we're going to actually manually handcraft ourselves some biomass out of wood. We can make 1,400 with the amount we just grabbed, and it's super fast to do so. So you might as well just handcraft it. Putting it in a machine would just take time. Although you could leave it in the background, I guess. Alright, now that we made all that biomass, we can just hop over to this container, dump it all in there, and that'll get changed into biofuel. Just going to take as much biofuel out of this as I can, which isn't that much, and just top up some of my machines now. Got 250 or thereabouts, so again, about 250 divided by 7. Fill each one with 35, and that should keep us going for a little while. Alright, they've all been topped up. Just really quickly, because I took a little longer than I anticipated, we've got 35 smart plating made out here already. Just going to make a quick storage container for that, just so we can store some of it up and we don't fill up the machine. The stack for smart plating is only 50, so it actually fills up pretty quickly. So there we go. 35 is not bad. Pretty happy with that so far. It feels like it's going much quicker than it is. So I should have mentioned that we're heading up towards the copper area here, and I want to show you some features to do with the map. So, over in the distance, we can actually spot a power slug. So if we hold left alt and right click, it brings up our stamp menu, and we can select slug. You can select anything. Select slug, and it'll drop an icon on that area on the map, so that when we zoom in, boom, there it is. It's right there. Very handy for seeing things across deep ravines or inaccessible areas and just trying to log it as something that, oh yeah, I'll get back to that. Or it could be a deposit, it could be a bit of ore that's just sitting out like this, something that you might want, or something worth remembering, like one of the destructible terrain areas to bomb, to open up new places, cave entrances, that type of thing. Now, to actually get rid of the stamp, you have to click it and then click delete. Another good feature, though, is that all the stamps, if we were to just place down another one, for instance, just here, if we hover over them, we can actually kind of see them highlighted on the map. So if you just want to know and categorize things by certain things, it's a great way of doing so. So again, hazardous areas maybe, slugs, berries, that kind of thing. Especially for renewables like berries, that could be kind of good actually. So let's go and collect that, and then we're going to head over just to the right towards our hard drive. Alright, easy. So hard drive is right next to it, so we'll just head over there. Now, I should have probably prefaced this. You need to bring with you the stuff required to make 2 biomass burners and a power pole. So we'll just open up biomass burner. We've got one there, one here, and we needed 40 megawatts of power to open this. Otherwise, just the handle just won't budge, damn it. So what we'll do is just really quickly connect this to a power pole, connect that one there as well. We'll just toss in something basic, it doesn't really matter. A little bit of leaves. 4 leaves in that one. 5 leaves in this one. And just connect the power right into the thing there. Oh, much better. Now, it actually broke our power grid, apparently, doing that immediately. But that's alright, we got the thing out of it. Why did that happen? Just because we burned through the leaves immediately. But it's all good. We're just going to delete it all anyway. Now, we've got a hard drive. What we can actually do before running back to base to put it in the M.A.M to scan it is just make a M.A.M right here. That way, we can just scan it right now. And it'll take 10 minutes. Now, the good thing is we can delete this and it just scans in the background. Another thing people do, I don't really do this, but other people do a lot, is because that's now been taken, right? We've got it. A lot of people leave a little signifying thing next to it just to say, like, yeah, I was there. I've gotten this one. So you can put down a pole, maybe paint it red. We haven't actually unlocked customization, I don't think, just yet. So once you do, you can maybe paint it or put down something that reminds you. I don't really do that. What I normally do is carry around the object scanner. And if I look at one, pull out the object scanner, it'll tell me that it's gone already. So I don't really feel like you have to do that, but a lot of people do, so worth mentioning. Now, we're just going to run a little bit over towards this tree, because just at the base of it, there's going to be a little bit more quartz that we need. Oh my god, nailed it. Saw it on the way over. So yeah, we need this quartz, and then we're going to head towards some of the caves to go fight some spiders. So just straight towards the miner and beyond is going to be the next cave, and there should be some quartz down there as well. Alright, so there's the cave, there's our starter base, and there's the little bit of quartz I was talking about, so we'll just grab that as well. Break super quickly. Now, this cave isn't for the faint of heart, especially if you're afraid of spiders. If you're an arachnophobe, brace yourself. Now, there is an arachnophobia mode in the game that replaces them with cuddly kittens. Kind of. So you could always do that as well. They tend to hit you once and run away. But they just take, oh my god. Wow, vicious. Vicious little things. These are called stingers. Yeah, I was going to say, he's wriggling a lot. He's really moving fast. But they only take 2 hits. So as long as you can just focus on them. There we go. Alright, so we're going to use those remains later. That's why I want you to come in here, because we're going to use it in the M.A.M. Again, if you're playing with creatures... By the way, don't worry about that. That will make sense in 1.0, apparently. But it has no use now. Don't bother collecting it. Because it'll probably just mess with something that you just don't do it. As alluring and tempting as it is, and the voice telling you to do it, I'm telling you not to. Right, we're just going to kill this hog as well. Now, if you're playing with passive mode, and you don't actually have enemy creatures in your game, I don't really know what you can do. But if you turn them to just be docile. There we go, sorry. If you just made them docile and they don't attack you, then that's fine. You can just go up and kill them and take their stuff or whatever. That's fine. If you don't play with them on at all, I'd strongly advise starting over with them on and just play with them passive at the very least. Because you do need some of their remains for advancing through the awesome shop quite quickly. It can be really great to do that. Alright, so that's pretty much everything I wanted to get up here. A few extra remains from different types of animals. We also got the one in the forest out there from the spitter, I guess. The only one we don't have is the hatcher, but that's okay. We don't really need it for a while. Just going to head back down to base camp now. And I'll see you when we're there. Alright, so I've just dumped stuff back in that little personal box there. What we're going to do now is just, I want to top up the machines for fuel again. So we've got nearly 500 biofuel here now. The machines are doing alright. We're starting to put more and more into them, but yeah, it keeps running out. So just have to divide it up by 7 now. So what do we got? We got about 400, about 500. 500 divided by 7, 71. Alrighty, my machines are now topped up again, all good. So now we're going to actually go ahead and build our space elevator. So what we're going to have to do here is toggle this on. We need 500 concrete and 400 iron rods. So if you have a look in this machine, we've got 874 in there, so that's no problem at all. And then we'll just head back one more time over towards the concrete. See what we have in there. Alright, now that the sun is setting and we've topped up our biomass burners, we're going to build our space elevator. So it takes quite a lot of materials, but I have it all prepared now. No extra time had to pass. We'll just build it somewhere like out towards this direction here. And in fact, it's actually nice that it's lined up with our storage container there, because that's going to go straight in. We'll just place it down right there. We'll watch it get built. The thing is quite the machine, and interestingly, it doesn't actually require any power despite its size and scale. I guess maybe it's powered from space or something? I don't know. But once that gets put down in position, she powers on immediately. So what this is going to require is 50 smart plating to complete the first phase, which will unlock the next two tiers of milestones, including coal power, which is obviously what we're interested in, which means no more running back and forth to top up biomass burners. I swear, every update it gets better and better. You always got to watch it the first time you pop this down. Lock it in. There we go. Awesome. Great. Alright, so 50 smart plating. I think we may have already made that. Yeah, we've got 56. Sweet. So I'll just feed it in that way. We don't have to. We could manually put it in there, but it's nicer to watch it tick on up. So I actually had it changed. My game crashed, by the way, so I didn't actually show this, but if you go into the game options user interface, show current game phase in the HUD. That's on by default. So up in the top right now, we can actually track how we're filling it over time. So that can be a good way to just generally get an idea for how it's filling up, I suppose. The reason I built this later is just because I didn't think you would have the materials ready if we put it down earlier to start filling it up. So I wanted to make the smart plating first and then just save up all the other materials to put this down. So that's going to be done in no time at all. You know, it's 25 out of 50 already. But what we can do while we're waiting is toggle off the animal HDD exploring. So that's done. We now have phase 1 completion basically done. And then we need the M.A.M unlocks. So if we open up our M.A.M again and see, is it ready? No, we've got a minute 50 left to go. So we'll just have to wait. This thing is basically done though, so let's seal it on up and send it off. Actually, before we do, just gonna cut the belt there. I don't want any more smart plating going in there, because that will happen, and I don't want that to happen right now. Alright, so let's seal her up. And send it off. Alright, give me the juice! Oh, there it is. It's pretty satisfying. Anyways, alright, a new project assembly phase construction platform. So that's phase 2. It needs 500 smart plating and a bunch of other things as well. So we're not going to make any of that anytime soon. We have lots of other things to do, and that's why I didn't want to feed in the smart plating straight away. Now you can actually delete this building. You don't need to keep it there. Get your materials back if you want. I'll be tearing it down later, but just not right away. And then the rest of the smart plating that's made in here, we're just going to grab that, take it for ourselves. That's 10. Can we pause this? Yeah. Stop it before any more gets made. Cut that there. We don't need that either. And we don't need that, and we don't need that. So we'll just leave this machine isolated off on its own. We want to store up some extra rotors and reinforced iron plates for use later, so we'll just pick those up. The extra rotors are just going to store in that container now, so no big deal. In fact, you know what? We'll just delete this building. We get 4 more out of it, so that'll speed things up just slightly. How are we for fuel? We're totally fine. Okay, so any minute now, the M.A.M is going to be done with its research, and we can see what recipe we got. Look at the timing on all of this. Alright, what do you got for me? So, we have 3 random rolls of recipes that will change how we make things in certain machines. So we can get iron ingots by mixing copper ore and iron ore. And you might ask, why would you ever do that? Well, it's because we get 50 per minute if we throw in 1 of each, whereas normally you get 30 per minute. Although, it is 1 to 1, but I guess this is 4 to 5, so you get slightly more out of it. You know, so you can think of it that way. You have to think of the production rates also. Reinforced iron plates here, using wire instead of using screws for a slight increase amount, although it's a lot of wire. And then here in a foundry, oh, these are both actually in foundries, and that's in an assembler. We've got copper ore and iron ore mixing to give us copper ingots. Quite a lot, actually, 100 per minute. I think I might go with that one, because I just don't think I'm going to use this early on. We've got tons of iron, but this one might make copper go a little further. So sure, we'll go with that. Now, it's important to note why we rolled those ones. The less milestones you've unlocked, you'll only get recipes that are tailored towards the milestones that you're at until you completely run out of them. So it'll always be the kind of goods that we're dealing with. You know, that was iron ore, copper ore, whatever. We weren't rolling things for nuclear stuff, you know, because that's not till much later in the game. But it's all random. You could technically get those if you had everything else before it done in a linear fashion, as far as I know. But picking up that hard drive doesn't always give you those 3 results. It's RNG. So I just thought you should know that. If yours are different than mine, just pick whatever you feel best comfortable with. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. We're going to get a bunch and get them all, so it'll be fine. Alright, so actually I didn't need to delete that. I probably didn't explain that very well, but hopefully you kind of follow. I'm sure people will correct me in the comments. Right, so the M.A.M unlocks. We've got some other things to do. So now we'll head back over into our personal box in here. And just pick all this stuff back up. Whatever I can... Let's just get rid of some cable. We'll need that later, but not right now. Actually, I will need the cable. I'll put something else in instead. Yeah, so keep your cable. Keep all these random little bits as well. We'll head over to the M.A.M. We go to alien organisms. So this is why we killed a bunch of hogs, so we can research them. Now we can make alien protein out of them. We can do the same for the spitters. We need just one. And the same for the stingers. Takes a couple seconds for each one. We didn't find a hatcher yet, so we'll just have to leave that. But it doesn't matter. We can actually get the next thing anyway. So what we'll need to do is craft 5 remains. But first, we can just quickly scan for Caterium. So this will allow us, or putting in the Caterium will allow us to scan for Caterium on our own in the future. We can then make a few of these things and then get ourselves something like a zip line so we can kind of zip around a bit quicker. On the nutrient side of thing, again, doesn't really matter, but we'll just unlock some of these while we're here. And this allows us to scan these objects using the object scanner. So if you made an object scanner at the end of the last episode, for instance, because we could, it wouldn't have actually been able to do anything. Now it will. Again, we can now scan for slugs actually too, which is good. Again, with the object scanner, not with the resource scanner. 2 different scanners. Alright, lastly, we have the quartz chain. So scannable resource for quartz. So now we'll be able to find quartz out in the world and on the map. Again, if you go online to something like satisfactorycalculator.com, you can see where all these deposits are if you wanted to. So this is why I told you to get this much quartz, because we want to be able to unlock the next 2 things. This is silica, which allows us to basically make glass and windows. It gives us awesome shop products, and that's going to allow us to customize and build factories that look nice, which is why I haven't done that yet, because we haven't unlocked anything that would be interesting to build, I guess. We're also going to get this one, or should we go for Blade Runners? Yeah, we can't do that yet. We'll go for this one next. So quartz crystal, this will give us the option to build certain signs, which would be nice too. Alright, so next up we have the bioorganic properties in the alien organism section. So we need 5 remains crafted into alien protein. So we can do that now. Just craft it all. And it's more economical for space in your inventory anyway. Speaking of space in our inventory, we'll get this first. So alien DNA capsules. The data capsule translates organic whatever. Basically, we'll be able to deposit this in the awesome sink to get way more coupons early on, which is why it's useful having, fauna in the game rather than just disabling it completely. We can also turn them into biomass if we were really desperate to. Alright, now with that done, the thing I've been eager to get to is this one. So 3 alien protein and 1,000 cable gives us 6 extra inventory slots. Definitely want that. Alright, great. That's basically all the M.A.M unlocks that we're going to do. Just tick that off. The last thing is actually doing coal power. Now, I'm just going to deposit some of these things that we don't really need anymore in there. So the alien... Actually, we'll keep that. Give me this stuff back. You know what? I guess we don't have to, but yeah, the Caterium ore, the coal, the raw quartz, everything else I'll keep in my inventory. We'll have a look at what we need. So, we've got the resource sink program, and then we have coal power. So we're pretty close to what we need there. Let's just toggle both of them on. So select the resource sink first. Throw in everything we have. We just need a bit more concrete. So we should have enough concrete over here, right? There's 100 there. Well, this is why we set up concrete earlier. So we grab this 100. And we can now see up in the top right of my screen the milestone progress also. So again, we can go back into options, user interface, scroll down, turn off the current phase because we don't really need to see that. But the current milestone's good. We can keep an eye on that. So I'm just going to head out here, grab some more concrete, and then run back. Nice. We have 738. So again, you could work out the time that's passed in the episode if you wanted to, based on the fact that we make 30 per minute here. If you're a nerd. Alright, so I've just topped up the milestone with the rest of the concrete that it needs. I've also topped up my fuel, so that we now have about 85-ish solid biofuel to burn through. And then I waited just a couple of minutes so that now we have 50 rotors. This storage container is completely empty. I just took that last rotor out now. And the reinforced iron plates as well. So we've got 50 rotors, which is what we need for the coal power milestone. So I want to do it in one fell swoop. So before clicking the button, we select the next milestone. Tier 3, coal power. 50, 150, 300. Let's go. So we'll just pile that all in there. It's expensive. And then we just select it again, select over. Send that off. Yes, so coal can be fully automated, and we're just about at that level now, so we're going to be rushing to do that kind of as quick as possible, really. But before we end the episode, we have one more thing to show off, and that is the awesome sink. So we have just enough material to make one of these. This is basically a big recycler. So we'll just build ourselves a storage container just off of it, and connect it with a belt. Just like that. So this actually takes a significant amount of power, 30 megawatts. Oh, look at that, man. Solid. It doesn't even look like the power network's running. It's just consistent. Love to see that. So our max consumption, yeah, so we're fine. We've got enough to actually power this on. Just about, actually. Just about. It's 30, and we have 31. Not even 31 room for power. So that's perfect. All right, so yeah, let's just connect this on in. So it's ready to go. And basically, anything that we feed in is now going to generate us tickets. So there's two types of currencies in here. There's the standard points and the DNA points. Every time you level up and get a ticket, the points cost increases for the next level. And it just keeps on increasing forever. So it takes longer and longer and longer to get anything. So you have to progress through the game in order to get more and more complex items that give you more points for each thing. It doesn't tell you, the game doesn't actually tell you how many points you get per item. So what we'll do just really quickly is open up the craft bench again. We'll just make ourselves the DNA capsules, right? I can make 2 of them at the moment. And this is why we wanted to go through the research tree and kill some enemies and things like that. It's because the DNA is actually quite valuable early on. So we'll just send in 2 capsules. And then right behind that, we'll send in the 10 smart plates. And as it goes in, you can just see it levels up like instantly. The DNA points actually stay the same for a while, and so do these, just for a little while. But once you progress maybe and get about 10 tickets or so, then the cost starts to increase pretty much exponentially, I think. Alright, so there we go. We've got 6 printable coupons. I tell you what, we're going to throw in the extra motors that we picked up at the hard drive site. I don't really think I'm going to need them. And by the time we do need them, we'll be able to make them. So it should be okay. So we'll send those in, and that should generate us some tickets as well. So what we could do is actually print these tickets out. Keep them on the side there. So we've got them in our inventory, and we can walk away now and do something with these tickets should we wish. But a good tip is, what you can actually do is put the tickets back in the machine. If you print the coupons that are in there and then move it onto it, we've just put the tickets back in the same slot. And if we close this and go back to it, they're all part of the big same counter. It's just a handy way to prevent you carrying them around or taking up inventory space. What if you fall off a cliff or something? You know, you might lose them forever. So best just to keep them in the machine if you can. Now you can only do that if you've got room to print some out to put them back in the slot. You can't print out nothing and then put it in the slot. You always need at least one in there. But just thought it was a good little tip. So we got 15. That's not bad. Now I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to get. I'll tell you in the beginning of the next episode what we're going to pick. But I would imagine in the awesome shop here, which is where we can use these tickets to buy things, don't ever, in my opinion, spend tickets on anything on this section here, parts. Because we can make all that stuff. Totally useless doing that. But you do want to spend it on all these other things. So conveyor, lift, floor holes, super useful. Pipeline floor holes, very useful as well. Some of these foundations are good for kind of building a bit more intricately. Doors, which I've promised for the next episode, have to follow through. Architecture, definitely going to be getting the road barrier, the modern railing, the concrete pillar, and the metal pillar. And in the customizer, we're going to want asphalt and concrete at the very least. So we're probably going to grab all of those. So I'm going to have to go around farming more animals and also just grabbing more items to generate us some more tickets. And if you got any excess, if you're starting to fill up some of your containers, just pick some stuff up and throw them in this container here, recycle it, and you'll be generating tickets in no time. Especially early on, it should be quite easy to do. Alright, that's really going to have to be it for the end of this episode. We'll just knock this off as coal power milestone done. That's got to be it for me. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. What do you use for those visualizations? I'm using a tool called Milanote. It's like a productivity whiteboard online tool thing, like a task manager. It doesn't actually do any of the computation or work out any of the rates. You just have to put the numbers in yourself. I just think visually it looks quite clean. That's why I chose it. Will you use nuclear power? Yeah, I mean, it's all based on if the series succeeds or not, but if I get to the stage of nuclear power and the views are still good, then of course I'll build a nuclear facility. I can't imagine skipping over that. Is that Minecraft background music at 11:30? I don't know about 11:30, but yes, it was used all the way throughout the entire video. How often do you plan to update this stream? I started a play along and almost done with this episode. It's so much fun, thanks again. At the moment, it's just going to be one episode per week. I do cover other games on my channel at the moment. Every now and then, new releases drop that I want to jump in on, or I might have a sponsored video. But more importantly, as the series goes on, the factories get larger and larger and larger. So at the beginning, one a week, I agree, isn't that many. But later on, when I'm building massive facilities all in one episode, I'll need the full week. What settings do you use on Satisfactory? I'm so shocked how beautiful the game is. Well, basically, I haven't done any weird trickery or anything. I just turned everything up to Ultra. Pretty much everything that I can think of is on Ultra. And I've also opted into Update 8 and toggled on Global Illumination, which is giving us that cool lumen lighting effects, which make everything look great. I'm also playing at 1440p, which helps as well. For how many episodes will you be this beginner-friendly? Yeah, so my sort of philosophy is that once I've explained something once, I really don't feel like I have the need to explain it again. So I'm sort of teaching players and bringing them out of being a beginner into an intermediate or advanced player over the course of the first few episodes, really. So I would imagine by blueprints, we'll be talking with each other as if we're all in the know about how everything works.